Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I'm very glad to come back here. Yeah, so, yeah, actually, this is the first my presentation at UWS after I finished my PhD. Yes, it's surprising because I came to Canberra first this time. I'm on sabbatical. So since last August, I gave 10 talks or something at Canberra, Melbourne, Brisbane, Tasmania, Perth, but and Sydney as well, but not here, University of Sydney. So, yeah, but I'm going back to Tokyo tomorrow. So this is the very last my talk. And yeah, I kind of regret, I should have talked at here first actually, because because apparently the people coming here today is a much more better qualified person, I think, who could something quite critical and also very interesting about my talk, I guess. So, so today's my talk is about the title suggests kind of international media culture flows, and also kind of nationalism or internationalism complicity again. So maybe I assume not many of you are, of course, familiar with my work. So I've been working since my doing PhD here, mostly about the rise of Asian media culture and the inter-Asian culture flows or connections, particularly from Japanese perspectives. So my book, my single author's book and also edited volumes are mostly about these issues. But recently, and also I'm also interested in more multicultural issues within Japan. So today talk a little bit the mixture of such kind of inter-Asian, international, or transnational, if you like, media culture flows, and also how it intersects with the local multicultural issues in the nation. So yes, by the way, this is a cherry blossom, beautiful, and I like this design actually. So next week is a cherry blossom season in Tokyo, so I just put this. Anyway, so since for the last 10 or 20 years, so rise of East Asian, Southeast Asian media cultures has highlighted the kind of de-Westernization, not just something happening there, but also we have to de-Westernize our perspectives in the study of media cultural globalization. And also, yes, inter-Asian connections, so new kind of connections are being made, produced, engendered through media cultural flows, connections, and those consumptions, and also which I think has brought about cross-border dialogue. So these are works I have done so much in the last 15 or 10 years. So, but recently, this year, 2010 is kind of very interesting because I was asked to write a kind of overall review articles about these issues. For example, Asian Journal of Communication. It is this year is the 20th anniversary of that journal. So they are having a special issue of kind of reviewing what happened about media culture, communication, globalization, etc. And also, post-colonial studies. It also have a special issue of East Asian theories or something. So yes, several journals. Of course, after the end of Cold War, say about 20 years. So globalization, particularly media culture, globalization, rise of Asia, etc. So maybe this year might be quite some interesting work maybe coming out. And so recently, so in my preparation for these publications, I'm of course looking not just at the positive side of media cultural connection in East Asia, but also its limits as well. So I try to think about these limits recently through the kind of three kinds of governance, if you like, of a cultural connection flows. So corporate one or market. So Japan or Korea or Taiwan or China. These are of course not a little bit different from US, Euro-American media culture industries, but still they are working together very well. And even in the East Asian flows, that's quite the case. And also other issues of division, or international division by cultural labor, as Toby Miller said, or more recently, more copyright monopoly by these industries. Again, it's crucial issues in East Asia as well. And the second one is international kind of internationalism, rise of new kind of commercialized internationalism in East Asian countries and flows. And the last one is in relation to this the state policies of branding its national culture. Of course, my talk today is particularly I focus on the last two, commercialized internationalism and also state policy of national branding, how they work together and in a way to kind of highlight the kind of national culture in a quite new way. At the same time, it tends to discourage the promotion of a wider public interest. But my talk is particularly from Japanese perspectives. So I will refer to some examples from Japan. And so, of course, this Japanese case does not, of course, cannot be automatically applied to other places like Australia or other East Asian countries. But some, I think, overall very strong kind of structuring forces occurring in the international flows or transnational media cultural flows. And so that is my main point of this today's talk. Actually, so as explained, introduced about my new forthcoming book. Yes, I'm supposed to finish my book by the end of June. It will be coming out, Paradigm Publisher in the US. So it has a new book series of globalization, communication culture or something. And so one of the editors asked me to write something. And also I will include something I already published. And also, so today's talk is not quite new, but it's kind of trying to restructure what I have done in the last 5 or 10 years in particular. Particularly my interest of not just celebration of or looking at the positive side of our inter-Asian connection, but I'm more now recently interested in such internationalism, how it in a sense undermines the more local multicultural politics. So in a sense, this is a still work in progress kind of structuring chapter of my coming book, I guess. So I would appreciate any comment or suggestion or critique about what I'm talking today. And also, I'm not reading paper today. I'm just showing slide, and also I talk because, you know, as I explained to Ian, yes, reading is not quite. I think I don't like reading paper for me because English is not my first language at all, and the reading paper sounds quite dry, and it doesn't communicate well to someone listening to my talk. So I will talk today. So my main issue of my interest is nationalism and hyphenated internationalism. So kind of international governance. So last month, Ian and I attended a workshop at ANU about the intersection of area studies and cultural studies, organized by Ariel Herianto. It's quite interesting workshop. And also we have some chat or discussion about what Ian said, global governance of culture or something. But my interest is more international governance. That takes a kind of more container model of a very old-fashioned model of a nation as a kind of unit of a global culture encounter. And it is not quite actually attentive to the issue of cultural differences and marginalized voices within. It is not dismissive. It is no, it does not neglect, but it is a particular kind of attention paid to these multicultural voices or questions, particularly in the Japanese context. So this is something I problematize. Of course, these issues, I'm not talking about much about this, but these issues have to be considered together with overall tendency of assimilative national integration discourse or rise of a patriotic sentiment and also the demise of a multicultural politics or tightening border control, particularly in the last 10 years we have observed in many parts of the world, US and here, of course also much more than maybe in Japan. But in Japan, which is not yet the officially multiculturalism country at all, but these kind of similar kind of assimilative national integration has become. It's always strong in Japan, but it's becoming even stronger. And the rise of patriotic sentiment, it is getting strong as well. And also, multicultural politics is becoming, I think, on the surface of a policy agenda now in Japan, but in a not quite positive manner. And also, tightening border control is occurring in Japan as well. So anyone maybe who recently came to Japan, maybe acknowledge they have to push your fingers. So Japanese government is following the American government, of course. So these two governments are sharing the data, I would say, because the company which govern these control surveillance of migration control is the same company actually. So it's obvious quite. So Tetsamori Suzuki has written some books about this kind of issues. And so this kind of more hard, if you like, hard or nationalistic or patriotic sentiment. And this is, but my talk is mostly the latter part, rise of international mode of media culture encounter the national branding. And so by combining these two, I think maybe it would be much easier to make sense of what's happening, particularly in Japan now, I think. But my talk is mostly the latter part. But I think we should not forget the first part is quite important as a context in which such kind of new kind of internationalism are operating in a way to kind of undermine the wider public interest. Okay, so just very, not much time, so just briefly, really quite familiar picture of so-called globalization, which has been quite popular in the last 10 years or something. Not just business world, but also media, sometimes cultural studies as well. And so, yes, it's quite kind of already cliche to say, yes, what's happening in the diversification through standardization, or standardization through diversification. Or global localization has become a quite common, very well-known term. And so through various kind of common globally spread cultural formats, like many kind of media culture, sports, food, tourism, etc. But at the same time, it is quite obvious in many parts of the world. Of course, there are some exceptions, particularly maybe Muslim country, particular. Say nation or nation state or country as the most marketable local units. So localization occurring, but it can be localized in various levels, of course, in say Western Sydney levels or Sydney levels, but Australian levels as well. But in the case of Japan or East Asian countries, it is more the nation. It is Japan, so and also South Korea, China, etc. So of course it is a kind of gigantic another classification of culture, but it is something happening by the according to the market or corporate logic. And also yes, this is something also we share in Canberra with Yen or others. Yes, we have observed the rise of international media or cultural events, showcases and spectacles in many ways, like a film festival, like a TV format trade, like say new networks of say TV media cultural flows in East Asia or regional flows, etc. And also, of course, UNESCO or other say international institution is also organizing various kind of issues. So, so combined through this, this is a term from John Alley, maybe you know, of course, British sociologist. He coined the term global screen. It is something through which locality cultures, nations appear to compete, to mobilize themselves as international spectacles and consumed by others, compared, evaluated, and then turned into a brand. So I think his point is, I think, for me, it works to make sense of what's happening in East Asia flows, or particularly in the Japanese context. So such kind of a global screen, I think more international or interface or something. New kind of international site or arena in which media and the popular culture are playing around and also consumed from each other and putting some kind of national brand on it. So, particularly film festivals, particularly in Asia, there are so many now film festivals, maybe Busan or Tokyo, Hong Kong, Taiwan, etc. So, but always national flag is attached to the particular films, and also in Europe, particularly European film festival like Asian avant-garde or some artistic films. So Japanese films are very one of the favorite. That's why Kitano Takeshi got recently something from French government, right? I don't remember what very prestigious some I don't know. Say Kitano has another something award from French government. So this kind of things happening. So this is another quote from John Aria as well. So it is this part is more about the kind of how the notion of nation has become a matter of branding. So of course still many nation states try to control the representation of the nation or narrative of past history, its origin. It is still very important, but at the same time this kind of more popular or media culture icon symbols are becoming more, I think, important, particularly in East Asian countries, I think. And so this is, I think, works to explain about what's happening in Asia and Japan as well. But I think he a little bit I think too much to say that it is a kind of free-floating signifier, detached free state, because I will talk, state is also a part of this very new movement of branding the nation and the international circulation of media culture, etc. So in the case of Japan, in particular, which I observed, I did some kind of research in the context of Japanese society. I think there, particularly among younger people, there is occurring the kind of they're emerging a kind of banal recognition of a nation as a unit of global cultural encounter. And also, many people find it pleasurable to participate in the international event showing their own national emblem or something. And so, particularly this happened since World Cup Soccer 2002, which Japan and Korea co-hosted FIFA World Cup 8 years ago. And this is a comment made by some university student in Japan. Actually, this is a comment made by some groups of university students who did some kind of research by themselves about to make sense of why they're fascinated with such kind of event, showing national flag, painting Japanese flag, etc. So this is quite interesting. So it is something like owning a brand. So they don't care. People, this means I think they, including themselves, they don't care about the origin, history, or meaning, of value of ideas of Japan. They don't know much about it, but still they enjoy so belonging to a particular nation, and Japan in this case, and celebrating. Actually, so this FIFA World Cup 2002 was a very epoch-making event in the Japanese context because of the memory of the war. It is quite hard for many people in Japan to so cheerfully shaking the national flag or singing the national anthem. Particularly, it didn't happen to my generation at all. But what we observed since 2002 onward is it is a very, very new kind of cheerful celebration of national symbols and working together. Some critical commentators call it petty nationalism. It's not hard. It's not very aggressive nationalism. It's and also superficial, very nationalism. But still, it has something. Of course, it's a nationalism and patriotism, so it is exclusive. And so, yes, it is correct. I think this nationalism or patriotic sentiment is kind of superficial or transient sometimes, or kind of festive mood. And so this is a comment by another sociologist, John Fox, who made research about, I think, Croatian soccer fans, why they so addicted to the international match of soccer. And so he makes a quite important comment, I think. So he said making people, of course, so this participation in this global international event, in this case soccer, makes people very national, but not nationalist. Because I think nationalist for Fox is more something more aggressive, more someone who more embrace the national pride or national more tradition, etc., more in a more significant manner. So he also said national content does not follow unambiguously from national form. So it's a level of a national form, he said. People enjoy, participate in this kind of celebration. But the national content doesn't follow automatically. So yeah, I do agree. But I think this is precisely the, I think, point to make sense of what's happening now. So it is superficial. Yeah, as a student comments shows, no substantial interest in or identification with Japanese history or traditions. But there is, I think, emerging a banal sense of exclusive national culture, belonging, ownership, and pride that are enhanced by this movement. So, for example, cultural DNA is as often quite used a metaphor in Japan. So, say, someone watch the Last Samurai, for example, in Japan. So it's a Hollywood films. So, Tom Cruise taught a lot about the samurai culture to young people in Japan, actually. but many young people in my university, for example, said, yeah, for the first time in their life, they understand what is a samurai value or something. And they are very proud of being a part of that kind of culture. We have a DNA or something, while they don't understand, actually. And of course, it is always discursive construct. So no substance called the samurai value or culture, but still, they embrace this samurai culture as part of them, part of their DNA, precisely because not just Tom Cruise, but the global Hollywood films embrace in a positive manner such kind of things. And also, yes, many, like this case, no small number of people seem to rediscover the kind of kitsch tradition. And also they try to claim authenticity of a Japanese, even geisha or samurai, or various kind of traditional. And also there are many artists, including modern artists like Murakami Takashi, maybe you know, I think, Super Flat is a very famous, I will show his picture later, or some manga animation critics. They always say manga animation was this pop art well received outside Japan because it has a lot to do with the Japan tradition in the pre-modern part of Japanese 18th century, 17th century, for example. So of course, maybe might have some, but kind of there's a naive celebration of this kind of tradition and the claim of authenticity going on, I think, in the Japanese case in particular. So this is, of course, something problematic. So just quickly show such kind of national discourse in Japan. Yeah, particularly again, so-called cool Japan or soft power is another very popular term in Japan now. Kind of cool Japan soft power euphoria also started around 2002 as a year of FIFA World Cup, and also it is a year for some very important publication was made by the American journalist Douglas Macrae. Do you know the term GNC? It is a gross national coup. Yeah. Yeah. So this Douglas Macrae said maybe Japan is no longer economic superpower, but now Japan is becoming a cultural superpower. It has a huge GNC. So this paper was immediately translated into Japanese, and it's embraced by many politicians, bureaucrats, conservative scholars, and then the government started many kind of committees to promote cool Japan or branding Japan. And also this is another example of SMAP is one of the most popular idol singers in Japan. So their 2003 album was MIJ, it's made in Japan. So again, let's be more proud to be Japanese. Look at outside Japan. So many people like athlete Ichiro or Matsui in the US or Nakata in the Italian soccer, and also animation, etc. So again, this kind of strong, soft, but banal sense of nationalism becoming more popular. Of course, this is because they're recognizing the international. So yeah, Kirsten Dunst. I don't know why she played this role because she got a lot of money. She played a cosplay, of course, in Tokyo because this is a part of Akihabara Majok Princess. This is a Murakami Takashi, super flat pop artist, who made a huge profit by working with Louis Vuitton actually. And so this actually London Tate Modern Museum, I think, had a special exhibition of Murakami pop art last year, and it features an original film called Akihabara Majoko Princess. Akihabara is a kind of mecca of otaku culture in Japan. So this is a comment by producer. So these are all unique expression of Japanese culture that's not derivative of American domination at all. So this kind of comment is of course well received in Japan as well. And so this is kind of say following the international Euro-American celebration of Japanese Cool Japan. Within Japan, there are many kind of Cool Japan discourse coming out. One of which is a media program, NHK's semi-public TV station. It has a Cool Japan program or Cute Japan program recently. And also Japanese government tried to also catch up this trend. Try to police the bizarre sushi restaurant in Paris actually. Or maybe, I don't know, they will do something with Sydney as well. But yes, and yes, this is another new school started in one of the prestigious private university in Tokyo, Meiji University. So it has say, let's do science on Cool Japan. So this is a special conference, international conference to celebrate the establishment of a new school called the Inter-national Japan. So this kind of discourse has become so widespread and popular in the last 10 years. And so that's why Prime Minister Koizumi in 2005 made, I think for the first time, my Prime Minister, this kind of speech as a diet. So for the first time, Japanese government or Prime Minister acknowledged the significance of media popular culture of Japan because it attracts so many people outside Japan. And so it is his government that established many kind of new committees to promote cultural branding, Cool Japan policy, etc. And this Brutus is a very popular bi-weekly magazine among young people. And this picture was drawn by Otomo Katsuhiro, maybe you know, Akira. He's one of the very popular films as well. And also, yes, maybe no one knows him, I hope. Yes. Actually, I showed this picture quite often outside Japan, Asian countries or Europe or US here. No one knows him, but he was a previous Prime Minister of Japan, Aso Taro. And when he was, say, a Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan, he tried to promote cultural diplomacy so significantly. So here, he gave a talk called Digital Hollywood. This is a school which educates would-be creators of Japan. So it is located in the Akihabara again. So he is also first Prime Minister maybe who boasts of he reading comics and animation quite often during the week. That's why we need to more disseminate Japanese pop culture. And also he also referred to the BBC survey. I don't know why, but the BBC is doing a survey every 2 years about international brand images of advanced countries or something. And yes, Japan was one of the top, together with Germany or others. So he was so happy. But actually, two countries was very critical of Japan in the survey, but he never mentioned. But it is Korea and China, because that time some historical conflict occurred between Japan, Korea, and China. But of course, he doesn't care. And these are all cultural ambassadors of so F4. Maybe you know F4 is from Taiwan.
is idol groups, and also Peonjun from Korea as a hero of Winter Sonata, and from Japan, Doraemon and Hello Kitty, for some reason these two, and also more recently last year. So these officially appointed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as a Japanese ambassador of CUTE. So it's about 1 year ago. But actually they already flew to say various countries like Thailand or Russia, some Denmark, or I don't, maybe they might be coming here as well to promote the good images of Japan by showing these cute cultures. So this is called Japanese ambassador of CUTE. Of course, this is okay to show this kind of, this is part of Japanese subculture. So if we take seriously this culture, of course we do, so we need to understand the more, say, subcultural politics or gender issues, generational issues, or rural, urban culture, etc. But of course, they don't care. Just show this kind of high school or young people's fashion to promote a cute Japan cosplay. And so Japanese government also involved. Apparently, they use money, of course, to some extent, not much. So brand nationalism is not just embraced by the young people who participate, say, cheerfully participate in the international event, but it's also the kind of policy issue as well. So state, including particularly Japan or other East Asian countries as well, are becoming more active to be involved in the international war branding. So pragmatic. Here, of course, we observe the very pragmatic uses of media culture as just a resource of enhancing national interest, which is not equal to a public interest. So soft power, cultural diplomacy, creative industry. In Japan, it's called content industry rather than creative industry. So for this purpose, so Japanese government easily very happily use popular culture. But my point is, because it is highly questionable whether these policies are quite effective in the improvement of Japanese images outside Japan. It's quite another question, and I don't think that's the case. But I think what's more important is it's kind of ideological closure. These new, say, policy implementation, the discourse have over the significant issues of culture in the public discussion. Say, as I said, say, historical issues, for example, in East Asia, and also unevenness of global cultural issues, and also another, say, more marginalized voices within the nation. Such kind of issues are kind of not easily disregarded, but not well attended to through this kind of discourse. So it is something I already said. So brand nationalism does not promote this understanding, complexity, more dialogue or historical issues, or unprofitable marginalized voices within the nation, which many of them are not part of a kind of more intelligent mass culture network recently. I move to the, so this issue, how this issue has intersect with the cultural diversity within the nation, or multicultural question in the Japanese context. So on the one hand, yes, Japanese government, this is another statement made by one Japanese government. So cool Japan or soft power is very important because they said the advancement of international cultural exchange. This international cultural exchange is a word the Japanese government like to use, will be the key to the creation of a peaceful world where cultural diversity is mutually respected, celebrated, and multilaterally understanding dialogue are promoted. So yeah, it sounds nice. But actually what they do is, for example, one example is international broadcasting service by NHK, same public TV station in Japan. They restarted this international broadcasting service last February in a quite new manner. This kind of discussion started about 3 years ago when the then Prime Minister Koizumi had a discussion with a foreign national resident in Japan about, and there, at the time, many foreign residents made a complaint that saying that Japanese media are so domestic oriented, so just a Japanese language. They don't care about foreign nationals or various cultural background people. And please do more diversified broadcasting services like maybe SBS or it is ideal. But then Koizumi said, okay, that's important. But the following day, 2 days later actually, at a cabinet meeting, so this talk is actually translated into the strengthening of an international English language broadcasting service to promote good images of Japan, to compete CCTV or Arirang of Korea or BBC World or CNN, etc. So this kind of multicultural question within the nation and their need for more various kind of diverse media or which represent their voices, their language, or their issues. These issues are so easily and suddenly translated into the international war of cultural branding again. And also Japanese media never criticize this kind of change at all. So this is one, I think, example. And also, so in this case, so this, cute ambassador always wins over this kind of multicultural issues of migration in Japan. So this is, I think, something we need to take seriously. And also, the other example is a so-called cosmetic or boutique or many kind of way of, so superficial levels of multicultural celebration. So cosmetic multiculturalism is a term coined by Tessa Morisuzuki, who is a professor of Japanese studies at ANU. So she argues, yes, it is a celebration of a cultural diversity for the sake of a national interest. It is quite common scenario. But more for the sake of a national interest to enhance images of Japan, that's fine. And also it is a kind of cultural citizenship, maybe they can get, but without any socio-political citizenship as a proper manner. So it is part of what Stephen Castle said, coined term, differential exclusion or something. So accept as a temporarily or sometimes some part of segment of society, but they don't get more political or social citizenship. And another example is this is something I have already written about few years ago. Some Japanese TV show recently features many foreign nationals living in Japan because they are becoming more visible in the Japanese societies. And so, but this is a talk show. ここが変だよ日本人 is Hey Japanese, it's bizarre or something. So the program invited 100 foreign national residents into the studio, and they talked or criticized some aspect of Japanese society. It is a racist, discrimination, sometimes bizarre, this girl culture or something. And then the Japanese commentator counter against those comments. It is a kind of more enjoyable talk show or talk battle between foreign nationals living in Japan who speaks Japanese so fluently, and also Japanese nationalistic pretender or posers against these foreign national voices. So this show, on the one hand, this is very, I think, quite an important program because other Japanese TV programs tend to just disregard the existence of these multiple voices within society. But at the same time, it is a representation of international, festival. So every contestant, every foreign national put a national flag here. So, but many of whom has actually Japanese citizenship, or some of them were born in Japan. They looks African, but he or she is actually Japanese. But they are asked to put national emblem or Ghana or South Korea, and they attack Japan. So it is a very quite ambivalent. It's some possible, yes, a possibility, but it's much more serious negative aspect as well. So this is another example of how kind of international multicultural issues are translated into international festival mode by the Japanese media representation. And more importantly, I think I'm more recently interested in intersection of kind of international relations and the local multicultural questions are confused, or international multiculturalism and the local multiculturalism are confused. I think this is quite often occurring recently. And so, yes, we know increasing relevance of a transnational media culture for the public, particularly in East Asia as well. So East Asian media popular culture crossing boundary to other parts of East Asia is quite mundane now. So it is quite new, but it is part of everyday life. So many audience people have more mirrors against which to think about their own life, society critically, sometimes self-reflexively. And at the same time, what's happening is international, as I said, multiculturalism. So Japanese culture and Korean culture, kind of international multiculturalism. And it is, of course, not well engaged with the local multicultural question. So question is about the hyphenated so-called subject and international cultural othering or authentication, celebration, etc. So what's going on these issues is something I talk for the last part of my talk. So I think this issue is related to, of course, the diaspora or migrant and the rise of their home. So it is always ambivalent or empowerment. So this is a comment by Che Lin. Maybe you know her. Yeah. This is taken from the special issue of Asian Australian in the I don't remember which Australian studies or something. Minjin, I guess. Yes. And she said, yes, as we become more dependent on the dollars from the economies of Asia, I would hope that the vestige of 19th century Orientalism will fade away. Yes, this is a kind of empowerment the migrant or diaspora can get benefit maybe by looking at their home countries, nation, becoming much more stronger power over culturally, economically, politically. So yes, but it is. I don't think this is just simple. This kind of empowerment is much more ambivalent and more contradictory, and this is something I think happening in Japan. So, for example, one example is, as I say, Last Samurai, say Cool Asia. So Hallyu turn to Asia is quite obvious since last 10 years or so. So someone said, yes, it is many, more recently, many remake or employing many directors' stories for Hallyu from East Asia, including Japan. And yes, it is shows a new kind of international co-production centered in Hollywood, but still, it is a new kind of recentering mode of transnational media culture industry. And it is new. And also, someone said it's kind of testimony of a rise of a cool Asia or cool Japan as well. Because that's why, and also Japanese Asian market quite important to Hollywood. That's why they now look to this. And it's not just a straightforward manner of Orientalism. It's more complex, actually. The representation of Last Samurai or Memoir Geisha or Kill Bill in particular, or Lost in Translation, yeah, it's quite different kind of different from an old notion of Orientalism. Although we still easily find out such very Orientalist representation. But now, of course, this time, the Asian side, of course, actively involved in this kind of production representation process. And also, it's not a simple story. But the question is, okay, maybe not that simple. But the question is, who is then Asians? Who are the Asians or Orientals represented in these films, like Memoir of Geisha or Hollywood, Lost in Translation from. So, yes, actually, when I published some part of a story of Lost in Translation in the Inter-Asia Cultural Studies, where I did a research about the Japanese audience response to, say, Lost in Translation or Last Samurai. Yes, as I said, some of my students are quite positive about the Hollywood celebration of, say, samurai culture, even if it is represented in a quite straightforward, simplified manner. And also, yeah, and also Lost in Translation was also very well received in Japan. Sometimes, yes, it mocks over Japanese media culture or Japanese people, but they don't care. But when I try to find out various responses, I found out that one of the most strong complaints or critiques of these films, particularly Lost in Translation, Last Samurai, or Memoir of Geisha, came from Asian Americans, actually. So for Asian Americans, it is about them, you know. it is Hallyu here. They represent Asia, so they are here. So, but in Japan, people in Japan or maybe Korea, there's not much. It doesn't matter, not much. So this kind of new kind of entangled relationship is, I think, going on. So who are the So who are there? Always Orientalism is not just international othering. It is who mostly others, someone marginalized within the society actually. So this is one of my own thesis actually of complicity, exoticism between Japan and the Western discourse. And so it is some Japanese ethnic minorities who suffer the lot by this kind of complicity between Japanese nationalism and internationalism and complicity. And this is one example. And another example is, say, rise of a Korean wave. Korean wave is a popularity of a Korean popular culture in Japan, in Asia. And my question is, I also have written already this piece in the book co-edited with Benhua. My question was, yes, Korean wave, it has a very positive impact on audiences in Japan. So this is a survey by made to the 200 audiences of Winter Sonata in Japan. So 60% of them say, yeah, they have a better images of Korea. They realize they have a kind of bias towards Korean society, kind of more negative images. Korea is a more backward, less developed country, society, culture compared to Japan. But it's changed. And also they become paying more attention to the coverage of Japan-Korea political historical issues. So yes, when I did my interviews, I'm surprised no small number of these audiences said, yes, they are now learning the history about what happened between Japan and Korea, Japan's colonial rule. So this is another very surprising and very positive moment. And the last one is they're getting more interested in the resident Koreans who are ethnic minorities in Japan. Most of them are born in Japan, and most of them do not speak well good Korean at all. And also many of their parents or grandfather, grandmother moved to Japan from Korean Peninsula during Japanese colonial rule. So they are ethnic minority, biggest ethnic minorities in Japan. So this is a great moment. But it's quite difficult to how we can judge that this 25% is a big or small but quality is I think more important. So my question was, yes, Korean wave has great positive impact on the audiences of Japan about the kind of self-reflexive dialogue with Korea. They review the relationship between self and other, Japan and Korea, and about their bias towards Korean society, about history, etc. It is a great moment, very political moment. But then such kind of positive impact of Korean wave, whether this happened to the social recognition of resident Koreans or not. So this is my question, but not quite, actually. In a sense, as a Czech says, yes, many resident Koreans empowered by looking at the rise of a Korean wave. So the improvement of images of Korea in Japan, which accompany to some extent the improvement of images of resident Koreans in Japan. So of course it is empowered. It empowers them. So, and they become more publicly visible in the Japanese mass media, which is quite rare before even 90s. So in the sense it is quite okay. But at the same time, what happened is they call themselves as resident Koreans or Korean resident because they refuse to have a Japanese passports, many of them, because of a kind of disgraceful process of naturalization in Japan. It's a little bit changing now, but used to be so. And also, so this naming is changing to so-called South Korean nationals living in Japan, kind of. So Zainichi Korean to Zainichi Kankokujin. The meaning is a little bit changing. And I think this is quite very significantly. Because it is South Korean nationals living in Japan, it doesn't matter. So again, historical issues is kind of disappearing. So, but without understanding the history, of course, the issues of, say, current issue of resident Korean, the identity issues or social discrimination they still suffer, cannot be, of course, understood properly. But what's happening is a kind of understanding of a resident Korean through the lens of a present South Korean society and culture. So this is, I think, very popular. So on the one hand, this has empowerment to many resident Koreans, yes. But at the same time, it has a kind of limit, kind of over international celebration of this kind of politics. That's a problem, I think. And so this is, I think, very interesting. So this picture is a Japanese TV drama, popular TV drama for the first time, featuring the resident Korean as the protagonist of its story. So we can see another very positive impact of a Korean wave here, because obviously because of the Korean wave, this kind of TV drama was for the first time produced in Japan. But this is also show this. If we look at the representation of this drama quite closely, we realize yes, it is still the way these kind of issues represented is still not about resident Korean, but more about South Korean nationals living in Japan. So resident Korean issues is translated into the issue between Japan and South Korea. So it is a very strong tone in this drama. So it's kind of not neglect, but a kind of strong confusion going on. So, but I think audience realize very critically. I'm very surprised. I found this in the internet discussion list. So, according to internet list, she. So, as she said, yes, but yes, South Korea and Korean resident Koreans are different. It's very basic issue, but she's quite consciously realizing this kind of issue. So it's not some country over there. It's someone already living in the same social space. This kind of confusion that the Japanese media or social discourse tend to do. And also this is a comment by resident Korean, third generation. So she also has a kind of reservation towards the Korean wave because Korean wave doesn't pay well attention to our issues. Say they don't care about us, resident Koreans. And the last one is again third generation resident Koreans. And so from resident Koreans. So these are very, I think, very careful comment made by ethnic minorities in Japan. So thank you very much producer for producing this kind of story for the first time. So it deals with our story. But we are not foreign nationals living in Japan, but resident Koreans who are still living traces of a tragic history of colonialism, etc. So, but she very politely asked, please do more, deal with our issues in the future. So this kind of comment made. So I think audience levels, there are more critical consciousness emerging, but not in the mainstream media or social discourse levels. I think same thing happening in Australia too recently. So this is a comment sentence from Continuum. His I don't know how to Attic. Yes. In the end of his paper about Bollywood in UK and in Australia, popularity of Bollywood is helping to make the Bollywood routine the acceptable Western friendly face of mass culture in Japan. It is more positive according to him because precisely more negative images of say Muslim or Indians became more prevalent. Yes, but 2 weeks ago, many Bollywood stars came to Australia to film festival. This is a comment from SBS. So Bollywood stars promote harmony in Australia. So they are here to promote positive relation between Australia and India. And the superstars don't believe racist violence is a major problem in the country here, Australia. I think, well, maybe, but I think similar kind of, well, I have not gone into details of say Bollywood and the Indian community here, but I think maybe similar kind, this is not just happening to Japan, but other countries as well. And this kind of, I think, confusion is something I think problematic in this kind of international governance of a culture or cultural encounter in which the nation has become recognized as a basic unit of a local. And so, this is the last concluding slide, but I don't know how to do with this. There is no, of course, correct answer. It's hard to tackle. It is so strongly, I think, institutionalized in Japan or East Asia or in other nations as well. How to denationalize is the term I prefer rather than post-national. So post-national is as we know well, the Upper July, say made about 10 years, more than 15 years ago. I don't remember when, 1996 or 7. So, but it is criticized. It is because nation still does matter. Is the most important institution, of course, political polity, and also sense of attachment. But so denationalize is a term coined by Sassen, the American sociologist. So I think denational does not negate the significance of the nation or national boundary or national national kind of boundaries or belonging. But at the same time, we need to go beyond and below the national boundaries, so to deal with the various issues. So, but this kind of denational dialogue or imagination is, I think we know it's important, but how to, kind of institutionalize or made it more publicized in the wider communities of the country or East Asia or Australia or whatever. So, I think recently, apart from today's my talk, criticizing what's happening about the international governance of media cultural encounter in the age of globalization. Yeah, but at the same time, not just critique. It's not enough, I think, for me. I'm now a little bit moving towards, I want to do something more in the public rather than in just ivory tower. So I'm not quite sure what we can do, but need to think about more about the public role of a public intellectual or old-fashioned, not old, very old issues in the age of international governance of culture encounters. It is some, when, to use that Adorno's word, that whoever speaks of administration speaks of culture now, whether this is his or her interest or not. So I think how, say, we media cultural studies or other, critical studies, social science, humanities, we have many critical insights, critical theories about culture, about cultural encounter. So I think I'm quite frustrated, particularly in Japan, because this kind of critical academic discourse doesn't help to change what's happening in the media, culture, peoples. And so, I think for me, more important issue is criticizing. Of course, first we need do a critical research to find out, to understand the complexity of what's happening. So then, how we can translate our academic levels of discussion into a more, more practical, if you like, or mode of knowledge or mode of practice. So in the sense, I think pedagogy is, for me, becoming more recently important, which, teaching is so not boring, teaching is demanding, it's so time consuming, but teaching not just in the school, but in society levels. So that's why in Waseda, we just established a so-called Center for Media Citizenship and try to involve various people, not just scholars, and more also independent filmmaker or various kind of cultural activists, NGOs, or so-called ordinary citizens, and or various kind of people to consider and to spread or share these kind of critical issues and notion. Or so this is something we are now doing. So, but of course, let me repeat, for this purpose, of course, doing a more critical cultural analysis of what's happening in the about the governance of international governance of cultural encounter is, I think, particularly is quite important in the Japanese context. Thank you very much.